Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. I hope everybody's feeling good. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a situation that happened last year in 2023. And there is just so many familiar parts to this story. I think it's a very important story. Before we get into it, though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up, and over there we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. I also have a $2 tier for all of the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. I put all of that stuff over there on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I am also on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and I'm also on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is a platform where you can find links to a lot of the things that you guys ask about. This top, makeup, skin products, clothing stuff, just about anything that I use or I like or y'all ask about. I can link those things over on my Like to Know It, and all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. So, okay, let me tell y'all about Valerie, and before we get into it, I typically like to tell y'all the whole story and then at the end give my opinion. I'm going to do that here to the best of my ability. To the best of my ability, I'm going to tell y'all the whole story without leeching in my opinions about things, but it's going to be hard. I'll just tell y'all that. But make sure you stay to the end if you want to know what I think really happened. So let's just start at the beginning. 17-year-old Valerie Tindall was born on August 29th of 2005 in Indianapolis, Indiana, to her parents Jack and Sheena. They also had a son and 3 other daughters. Now, when Valerie was still young, the family moved from Indianapolis about an hour away to Arlington. Now, Arlington is a very small town. Like, it doesn't even seem like a town. It seems like if you blink when you're driving, you're gonna miss it. There's only 658 people in this town. So everybody really knows everybody. And Valerie's family seemed to love the small town vibe and living in a small town. They felt like there was a certain peace and safety that comes with living in a small town. Growing up, everyone said that Valerie had a smile that was super infectious and that she had a great sense of humor. She loved video games and she loved singing and she loved spending time with her family and her friends, and it is said that she was really great with her little cousins. Valerie also loved animals. She had a cute little Boston Terrier named Lacey, and Valerie told everyone when she grew up she wanted to be a veterinarian. Valerie was a senior in high school and she was supposed to graduate this year of 2024, and it is said that she did really well in her classes. Now, after school, Valerie worked multiple different jobs and she would also work on the weekends as well. She worked at McDonald's and she worked at Domino's, but ultimately she found a job that she really liked, working lawn care. A 59-year-old neighbor named Patrick Scott had a lawn care business, and he had taken Valerie on as an employee 2 years prior when she was 15 years old. So you can imagine, like, she's 15, she's working on these, riding lawn mowers in different people's houses and cutting grass, and she seems to pretty much like it. Valerie's main responsibility for this lawn care service that she was working at with her neighbor was riding the lawn mowers and cutting grass and riding to different job sites with Patrick. Patrick and his family were neighbors with Valerie and her family. His house was literally just behind Valerie's family's home. And as you guys can see, they're not living in a neighborhood where the houses are right next to each other. There is, quite a little bit of land there, but nevertheless, they were neighbors. Now, rumor has it in that area that Patrick and his family were considered strange or weird. I heard Valerie's mom say that they were nice. She considered them trustworthy. I mean, they're giving her daughter a job, and she's been working there for a couple of years, and their daughter seems to really like it, you know, doing the riding lawnmowers and being able to ride around with the neighbor. And they knew his wife, Patrick's wife, as well, and their grandchildren would also hang out and play with Valerie. And Valerie's mom said that even though the rumor was the family was strange, she wasn't judgmental like that. Like, yeah, that maybe they were a little strange, but they were still nice, and she had no reason not to trust them. And she also knew that her daughter had a strong work ethic, and so maybe Valerie could learn from Patrick as far as like being a business owner. Now, Patrick was married to a woman named Linda, and he had children of his own, and he also had grandchildren, like I just said, that were friends with Valerie. However, on June 7th of last year, 2023, Valerie let her parents know that she was leaving for work. Now, her mom would later say that this seemed strange because she didn't typically work on Wednesdays, but she figured, okay, you know, because she doesn't really work on Wednesdays, but all right, she's going to work. Sadly, this would be the last time that Valerie's parents would ever see or hear from her. Later that day, when Valerie's mother, Sheena, got home from work, she realized that Valerie still was not home yet, which was completely unusual. So she called her daughter to ask her where she was. Valerie's phone kept going straight to voicemail, and it was already kind of strange to Sheena, again, that Valerie was even working on this Wednesday because she typically did not work. So at this point, it was getting pretty late, and Valerie wasn't home yet, and she wasn't answering her phone. So this made Sheena very worried. Sheena then called her neighbor, Patrick, who was also Valerie's boss, and he said that Valerie did not work that day, and he hadn't seen her since the day before.
Now I come home expecting her to be here, and when she wasn't, I was surprised, but when he said she went to work, it wasn't really all that shocking, but then again, it was because I said, well, it's Wednesday. She don't work Wednesdays. So why is she at work? And he said, I don't know. I get tired of arguing with her, so I just told her, go ahead. And so it started getting late. I noticed it was probably 6 or so, and I said, well, she should be home by now, I would think. So I called Scott after I called Valerie probably 3 times, and her phone would go straight to voicemail. And I thought, well, that's not usual. I don't understand why it's going straight to voicemail. And so I called him, and he says, no, she didn't work today.
Patrick and his wife, Linda, came straight over that evening to comfort Sheena. Now, while they were there, Patrick mentioned that he thought that maybe Valerie had, run away. Sheena definitely did not believe this. She was not convinced at all that her daughter was just going to run away out of the blue like this, and it would be totally out of character for Valerie. I mean, Valerie was very open with both of her parents and communicated with them even when she was going to go off and maybe talk to boys. She was 17. She was actually getting ready to be 18 at this point within a month or so. And there would be no reason for her to just up and run away and turn her phone off. So Sheena started calling anyone and everyone that she could think of. She talked to Valerie's friends, and no one had seen her or heard from her. Because of all of this, Valerie's family went to the sheriff's department and they reported her missing. Now, initially, the sheriffs thought that Valerie might be a runaway. So they got search warrants, and they went through all of Valerie's electronics. They went through her stuff, and they were trying to figure out maybe who she could be with. This is when the investigators realized that Valerie had spent a lot of time alone with Patrick, the neighbor, who is her boss, outside of work. So not just while she's riding with him, working with him, cutting grass, but they were spending other time together. They ended up finding pictures of the two of them together at an aquarium. Now, Valerie's parents were aware that she was going on this trip to the aquarium, but she thought that Patrick's entire family was going. The parents thought that Valerie was going to the aquarium with not just Patrick, but was going with Patrick and his wife and his grandkids. So to see this photo of just them two, they're like, wait a minute. Sheena, Valerie's mom, also told investigators that Patrick had Valerie's location enabled in the Life 360 app on his phone, and that he was always checking the app to see where Valerie was. Sheena said that sometimes Patrick came off as this jealous boyfriend, but that Valerie would tell her that it wasn't like that. So you can just imagine too, as a mom, you got a 17-year-old daughter. The boss has the Life 360 app. They're probably saying whatever reason, well, he needs to know where I'm at for work. He needs to make sure, I'm at this place, whatever reason. And the mom's like, that's weird. Like, the neighbors should not be tracking your whereabouts. And the teenage daughter's like, Mom, please stop. It's not like that. Like, you're being weird. Like, don't make it weird. And of course, the mom is kind of like, okay, maybe I am thinking too much into this. As the investigators continued to look into Valerie's social media, this is when they realized, because her phone was off, so it did not come on at all, which is completely out of character for pretty much any teenager that has a phone. Most of them, at least. But they saw how much Valerie was on social media, different, you know how it is, TikTok scrolling or whatever. Her whole history, she was on it every, couple minutes, basically. And now she was not on social media, any of her social media accounts at all. And the investigators were actually checking up on her every 10 minutes to see if she signed into something, if anything hit, and nothing did. So 2 days later, after she was reported missing, a statewide silver alert was issued for Valerie that said that she was in extreme danger. Now, this is when the detectives went to Patrick and they began to question him. When asked, he told them the same thing that he told Sheena, that he did not see Valerie at all on the 7th. And mind you, this whole time, Patrick and his wife are going over and consoling Valerie's parents. Every day they're going over there and saying, she's fine. You know how teenagers are. She probably met some boy and, she'll be back. She's fine. However, a witness ended up coming forward that said that he saw Patrick and Valerie together on that day, June 7th. Another witness even said that they saw Patrick driving Valerie's car that day. Like, why would he be driving her car? That's weird. This is when Patrick became the investigators' number one person of interest. Now, the sheriff's department ended up holding couple different press conferences during this time. And this is when they asked their community to please help find Valerie or her car. And they told the community to be on the lookout for a green 2000 Honda Accord, but they didn't provide any new information regarding their investigation. During this time, while Valerie's missing, her car is missing. Her phone has not even been turned on. It's not being tracked. She's not on any social media. It's inching closer and closer to Valerie's 18th birthday. And Valerie's family, especially her mom, knew in her gut, in her heart, that she would not just cut off all contact with them. They were very close. Valerie's family at this point is starting to lose hope that Valerie was going to be found okay. But then in August, mind you, she went missing June 7th. Valerie's family found out that the U.S. Marshals had gotten involved in Valerie's case, and they had found Valerie's car back on June 26th. So they found Valerie's car, but they didn't tell anybody, not even Valerie's family. They had found Valerie's car at an apartment complex in a neighboring little town, Shelbyville. This is an apartment complex that Patrick had actually done some landscaping at. Because of that, the sheriff's office decided to reach back out to Patrick again. But again, he said that he never saw Valerie that day that she went missing. But then the investigators told Patrick that they had witnesses who put him with Valerie that day. Because of this push on him, like, come on, man, we got people that saw you with her. We know you was with her on this day. What are you hiding? Why are you lying? Just tell us the truth. This is when Patrick changed his story for the first time. Patrick finally told the investigators that Valerie was indeed with him on the day that she went missing. However, he said that they met at that apartment complex in Shelbyville. He said Valerie got in the car with him and asked to be dropped off in Homer. He said he dropped Valerie off there with a male that was driving a little blue car. Then he said that he went back home. But then the investigators confronted Patrick with Valerie's location data off of her phone. It never showed Valerie going to Homer. It did show her going to Shelbyville, but then it placed her back in Arlington. Patrick began to backtrack at this point. And this is when he said that him and Valerie did meet up, but that he brought Valerie back to his house and left her there while he went to work. So The investigators are listening to this constant change of story, and mind you, him and his wife have been going over to the family's house, consoling them. It's fine, she'll be back. She probably ran off with a boy, da 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 da. And now he's admitting that not only was he with her that day, but he even brought her back to his house. He said that after he brought her back to his house, he left and went to work. But when he got back home, Valerie was gone. So he didn't know where she went. Now, something interesting is that Patrick's cell phone data, which, mind you, he willingly handed over to the investigators, shows that he went back to that apartment complex the very next day. When he was asked about it, Patrick said that he went back to the apartment complex and he got Valerie's car and he moved it to a different apartment complex and he parked it in the spot where the police eventually ended up finding it. Now, when he was asked why, Patrick said because Valerie asked him to. So again, she's 17, she goes missing. He's the neighbor and the boss. He's over at the house consoling the parents. It's okay, they're gonna find her. Where would she go? Oh, she's probably just with a boy. And now he's admitting to the investigators, he's done changed his story again, that he picked her up at her car, brought her back to his house, strange, then ended up going back the next day and picking her car up and moving it to a different apartment complex, and then is lying to the investigators saying that she didn't even come to work that day. He didn't see her till the day before. Like, oh my goodness. Well, while they were going through his cell phone, they also found texts between him and Valerie. And at 11:23 a.m. on June 7th, Valerie texts Patrick saying, "I'll be there soon." Patrick texts back at 5:40 p.m. saying, "Where are you?" And then the next day at 2:46 p.m., he asked again, "Where are you?" Almost like something happened that morning when they met up with each other. And then later that evening, he realized, oh man, there's this text message. I need to cover my tracks. So where are you? To make it seem like she never showed up. To me, it seemed like he was trying to cover his tracks. But nevertheless, at this point, the investigators were obviously very suspicious, to say the least, of Patrick, but they did not have enough to arrest him for Valerie's disappearance, so they ended up arresting him for a misdemeanor for providing false information or misleading information during an investigation. Then in October, again, she went missing in June. Now we're in October. Investigators brought cadaver dogs to search a pond on Scott's property. And when the cadaver dogs got there, they alerted to the scent of human remains. But when the pond was searched, there was no sign of any remains. The cadaver team said that it was possible that the pond water was actually carrying a scent of remains from somewhere nearby on the property. Meaning, like, if there was remains on the property and it rained and the water ran down into the pond, the dogs would alert on the pond because they're smelling it in the pond, but really it could be anywhere. Because of this, the investigators decided that they would do an aerial search of Patrick's property the very next day to see if there was any disturbances in the ground. And I find this part of investigations so fascinating, the way that they can fly over and use certain equipment to see if there's been any digging. Even if it looks like there hasn't been any digging, they can find it. And this is when they found multiple areas of disturbance. Then this brings us to November 28th. One of more than 50 search warrants at this point was executed at Patrick's property. The investigators were specifically interested in a large dirt pile that was covered in a bunch of debris. As they started digging, they found 2 homemade wooden boxes. The first box, they pulled it out, they opened it, and it had a bunch of paperwork and we'll say like adult film VHS tapes in it. When they pulled the second box out, this is where they found Valerie's body. The investigators couldn't initially say for sure that this was Valerie, but they were pretty sure because Valerie's fingernails were painted orange the day that she went missing. And the body that was in the box also had orange fingernail polish. Patrick was immediately arrested for murder and he was taken into the sheriff's office to be questioned again. Shockingly, Patrick gave a full confession to the story that he would tell.
Patrick, today's the day. Family deserves this closure. and you deserve this closure. Do you hear me? You deserve this closure because this has ate at you. We can tell that every time we talked, all right? Explain to me what happened to Valerie and explain the why. Because we deserve it and everybody else deserves it as well. Just lay it out to me. Lay it out to me. What happened to her?
She tried to blackmail me into buying her a car.
Okay, and what happened?
She thought she was going to seduce me and it wasn't going to happen. Things just got carried away.
Well, explain that to me. What's that mean?
She tried to seduce me and I wasn't going to have it.
But what happened to Valerie? That's where you're stopping. What'd you do to her?
What'd I do to her?
What'd you do to her? Tell us what you did to her.
Killed her.
With what?
A belt.
Okay. And then what'd you do with it?
I moved her into the office.
Okay. How long was she in there?
Till the next day.
Okay. What did, where's the belt at?
It's gone.
Okay. You left her in the office till the next day. Then what happened?
Then when I got home the next day, I just made that box.
Okay. What about the hole?
The hole was already dug. But it wasn't for that, it was because I was going to throw concrete in it.
So you strangled her. What room were you in when you strangled her?
Back there by my bedroom.
So you said she tried to seduce you for the car. Well, explain to me what happened.
She was wanting to come on to me.
Did she say she was going to get you in trouble, or?
Yeah, she was going to tell everybody that I was making moves on her. Okay. I wasn't going to have it.
Okay.
Just things got out of hand.
So explain to me what happened there in that room. Like, how did you get the belt on her?
I was fighting her off and I took it and threw it around her.
Why were you guys fighting?
Because she had tried to take her clothes off.
Okay.
And it wasn't going to do it.
Okay. And then you guys got in a fight?
Yeah, kind of a pushing and shoving thing right there.
Okay. And then you took your belt off, and then what happened?
I put it around her neck and I held on to it till she quit.
Okay. And what'd you do afterwards? Like, what was going through your head at that time?
I didn't know what to do with her.
What did you first think about doing?
Huh?
What was your first, what were you thinking about?
Trying to figure out what to do with her.
And how long did you hold that? Give me a ballpark how long you held the belt.
On her?
Yeah.
Just quit moving.
Okay. Did you know she was dead then?
I pretty much figured so.
Patrick denied ever having a romantic relationship with Valerie. We do know that Patrick did meet Valerie at the South High Garden Complex in Shelbyville that day, and he did bring her back to his house. Sadly, we will probably never know for certain what actually happened at his house, though. Now, according to the court records, Valerie's phone was last used around 2:59 p.m. These records also show that Patrick deleted several apps on his phone. He didn't delete the Apple Health app, though, and this is bizarre and can be very disturbing if you let your mind run away with it. The Apple Health app that was on his phone showed that around 1:35 p.m. there was detected increased activity, meaning that his heart rate was up or moving, or he was doing something 37 or 36 minutes after she arrived at his house. Allegedly, Patrick also said that he continued to wear the belt that he used on Valerie for a while after the incident. So he strangled her with this belt. So he says that's what ended up happening and how she lost her life. And then continued to wear that belt every day to work, to kiss his wife with, to go over and talk to the neighbors about their missing daughter, go over there every single day, and she's in a box on the property and you're wearing the belt. You got to be one sick mammer jammer. You know what I mean? He also ended up admitting that he moved Valerie's car after the fact, and he threw her license plate and keys into the river to try to cover his tracks. Valerie's parents said this after finding out that Valerie's remains had been found.
Where are you at right now? This has got to be unbelievable for your family.
Absolutely. I'm devastated. My daughter didn't deserve this. We just want answers right now. We just want answers as to why. Why would you do this? Because her and him had a bond, they were friends. And
So we thought.
Yeah.
She worked for him, right? They did.
She worked for him, but she also hung out with his family. Like his granddaughter was her friend, and we went places with them. Me and him, and her and him, and family. Like everybody went together.
For a long time. You guys
Yeah.
were family friends?
Yeah.
In the last 5 months, had you talked to him about her at all, or did you see them at all?
No, he ran in his house every time I tried to talk to him.
Well, actually the first week or so, I think it was the first week, right after we hung flyers. I think it was day 2, we went out and hung flyers, and as soon as we come home, they were there. And they kept coming over, you know, asking me if I was okay and telling us, oh, I'm sure she's fine, she'll be back home. I left at 17, that's what his wife kept telling me. I left at 17, and I said, yeah, but that was different. You left and got married. Your mom knew where you were. You didn't just vanish.
Did you know in your mother's heart this is not her running away, that this is something is my child?
I hoped, so I hung on to that. I wanted to believe that she did, but I didn't.
Did he ever help search for her?
No.
No.
No, all they did was come to our yard and talk to us for hours together, talking to us.
His wife did admit that she drove around Shelbyville
Yeah, she drove around looking.
and looking for her. But
And she offered to print out, flyer,
the next day we found out
maps.
that they had something to do with it.
People talk about closure and tragedy, but
There is
really-
none.
Yeah.
There's going to be a hole there forever. There was a hole there, and we thought she was out there somewhere. There was a hole, and it's never going to be filled. Just like half your family's gone.
Valerie's burial site was less than 100 yards from her parents' house. As a part of a plea agreement, Patrick pled guilty to 1 count of murder, and he was sentenced to 57 years in prison. I think 57 years in prison is too short. I don't care how much time he serves. And he's an older gentleman, so he probably will not get out. Just taking the crime out of it, because there's a lot of different rumors, right? And he accused her of trying to blackmail him. I'll get to my opinions on that in a second. The fact that he could put her there and go and console her family and kiss his wife and that scares me, y'all. And wear the belt. Like your elevator does not go to the top floor. If you can do that, if you're not tossing and turning, like itching, like, oh my gosh, I have this thing. Weird, disgusting, crazy. However, what do I think happened? I think that Valerie's mother, and I've watched multiple interviews with her. I didn't see a lot of her dad speaking, although he was there. I saw her mother speaking a lot. And I think that this is a family, like so many families here in America, where the parents have to go to work, right? You gotta work, you gotta pay your bills. They probably can't take a lot of time off, and they have a teenager who's getting into boys. She's about to be 18. She's meeting people online, and she was hanging out, and she was being a normal teenager in 2023, which is different than our teenage years even, right? And the mother had a close relationship with her daughter, and her mother and father told her different concerns that they had, and they tried to, keep enough respective boundary and let her kind of grow up. But the person that they did not suspect was their neighbor, was the 59-year-old man with his wife and grandchildren that was taking him under his wing and giving her a job. And I think he saw that weak spot. I don't consider it a weak spot, but in a group's mind in their family. The parents working hard, gone a lot, teenage daughter wanting to be rebellious, and he's driving her around, and I think he started making her promises. And I think she wanted him to pay up on some sort of promise probably, and it wasn't going to happen. And he did whatever he did. And I do think it was in a spur of the moment type of thing. But I think he had probably been doing things he shouldn't have for a long time. You don't just do something like that, go and build a box, they have documents from him going to Home Depot, buying tarps, buying wood to build the box, do all this stuff, go and console the family literally the very next day and be okay with it and still wear the belt and be some sort of victim of some blackmail. There's so much more to it, and it's sad. As teenagers are going to make mistakes. They're going to make bad choices, just like all of us, even adults. As long as we're alive, we're going to be messing up in life, right? No matter how hard we try, we're going to stumble, we're going to fall. But teenagers especially, she should have had the life to be able to make mistakes and grow and learn and grow up and become the adult that she was created to be. But this neighbor took advantage of that. It's horrifying. And then he turned around at the end of it and tried to twist it and not only make it her fault, but he started spreading rumors about the family too, saying that they were certain things after what he had did. Throw away the key. Under the jail, throw away the key, in my opinion. What do y'all think? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Other than that, I love y'all. I would tell you make sure you're talking to your teenagers, but this is exactly what this sounded like this family did. They talked to her. She always told them where she went, even though she was almost 18. She had the Life 360 app on her phone. And it was her boss. It was her neighbor. I love y'all. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank y'all for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.